She held my hand through my miscarriage, called me sister, and prayed with me every night while secretly carrying my husband's baby and pretending it was from a one-night stand. I sat on the couch, my hands shaking, staring at the piece of paper I'd pulled from Rose's purse. It was a medical report, one I wasn't supposed to see. I'd only reached into her bag for my phone charger, but the paper had slipped out, and now its words burned in my brain. Rose Thompson, 12 weeks pregnant. My heart stopped. I already knew Rose was pregnant, she told me a month ago, crying about a one-night stand with some guy from a bar. I believed her, supported her, promised to be there. But it was the note scrawled in Rose's handwriting at the bottom that made my heart stop. Tell Jake it's his. He deserves to know. Jake. My husband. My Jake. The world spun around me. My stomach twisted, and I felt like I might throw up. Rose, my best friend since we were kids, the one who called me sister, who sat by my side when I lost my baby, was carrying my husband's child? The room felt too small, like the walls were closing in. My hands shook so hard the paper crumpled in my fists. How could this be true? Rose had told me her pregnancy was from a one-night stand, some guy she met at a bar. She cried to me about it, said she was scared and didn't know what to do. And I believed her. I held her hand, just like she held mine when I was breaking. But now, this note, this horrible, world-shattering note. I heard the front door creak open, and my heart jumped into my throat. Gina, you home? Rose's voice called out, bright and cheerful, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't been lying to me for months. I shoved the paper back into her purse, my hands moving fast, like I was doing something wrong. My mind screamed at me to confront her, to demand answers, but my body froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Gina? Rose's head poked around the corner, her dark curls bouncing as she smiled. That smile. I used to love it. Now it felt like a knife in my chest. Hey, you okay? You look pale. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My eyes darted to her purse, then back to her. She was wearing a loose sweater, but now that I was looking, I could see the slight curve of her belly. How had I not noticed before? How had I been so blind? Gina, seriously, what's wrong? Rose stepped closer, her voice soft, like she was worried about me, like she cared. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to scream, to throw the paper in her face, to ask her why. Why would she do this to me? Why would Jake? But instead I just stared at her, my best friend, my sister, the woman who was carrying my husband's baby behind my back. I need to go, I mumbled, standing up so fast I almost tripped. I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door, ignoring Rose's confused calls after me. My heart pounded as I ran to my car, tears burning my eyes. I had to find Jake. I had to know the truth. But as I drove, one question kept screaming in my head. How did this happen? How did the two people I trusted most in the world betray me like this? The story started months earlier when everything in my life felt like it was falling apart. My name is Gina, and I'm 28 years old. I live in a small town called Willow Creek, where everyone knows everyone, and secrets are supposed to be hard to keep. Jake and I had been married for 3 years, and we were so happy. He was my rock, my safe place. He had this big, warm laugh that could make any bad day better, and eyes that sparkled when he looked at me. We were trying to start a family, and when I found out I was pregnant last year, it felt like a dream come true. Rose was there for all of it. She's been my best friend since we were 6, when we met on the playground and she shared her cookies with me. We grew up together, went to the same schools, and even moved to the same neighborhood after I got married. Rose was like family. She called me her sister, and I called her mine. She was always there, with her bright smile and her way of making everything feel okay. When I got pregnant, Rose was over the moon. She threw me a little party, just the two of us, with cupcakes and sparkling juice. She promised to be the best aunt ever. And when things went wrong, when I started having pains and ended up in the hospital, Rose was right there. She held my hand through the doctor's visits, through the tests, through the awful moment when they told me I'd lost the baby. I was 16 weeks along, and it broke me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop crying. Jake tried to be strong for me, but I could see the pain in his eyes too. We were both hurting, and it felt like the world had turned dark. Rose was my light in that darkness. Every night, she came over to our house. She'd sit with me on the couch, hold my hand, and pray with me. "God's got a plan, Gina," she'd say, her voice soft and sure. "You're strong and you're going to get through this." I believed her. I leaned on her. She was my sister, my rock, my safe place when Jake wasn't enough. But now, sitting in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, I realized I didn't know Rose at all. Or Jake. How long had this been going on? When did it start? My mind raced back, trying to find the clues I'd missed. It was about 3 months ago when Rose started acting a little strange. She'd been quieter than usual, canceling plans at the last minute, saying she wasn't feeling well. I thought she was just stressed. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital, and her hours were long. I didn't push her to talk. Then, about a month ago, she came to me, tears in her eyes, and told me she was pregnant. "I messed up, Gina," she'd said, her voice shaking. "It was a stupid mistake. A guy at a bar, a one-night thing, I don't even know his last name." She looked so scared, so lost, that I didn't question it. I just hugged her and told her I'd be there for her, like she'd been there for me. I promised to help her through it, to be her family, since her parents lived far away. But now, that medical report, that note, "Tell Jake it's his." The words burned in my mind, each one like a punch to the gut. Rose had lied to me. And Jake, had he known? Was he lying too? I pulled into the parking lot of Jake's auto shop, my hands still shaking. He was probably inside, working on a car, his hands covered in grease, his favorite baseball cap on backward. The thought of seeing him, of looking into his eyes and asking him if it was true, made my stomach churn. What if he admitted it? What if he didn't? I turned off the car and sat there, staring at the shop's sign, Jake's Auto Repair. My whole life was in that shop, my husband, my dreams, my future, and now, maybe, my betrayal. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but my heart wouldn't stop racing. I had to know. I had to face him. I stepped out of the car, my legs wobbly, and started walking toward the shop. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the pavement, and the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. As I reached for the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, and my breath caught in my throat. It was a text from Rose. "Gina, where'd you go? I'm worried. Call me." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen. Should I call her? Confront her? Or should I go to Jake first? My mind was a mess, torn between anger and fear and a tiny, desperate hope that this was all a mistake. Maybe the note wasn't what it seemed. Maybe there was another Jake. Maybe... But deep down, I knew. The truth was staring me in the face, and it was uglier than I could ever have imagined. I pushed open the door to the shop, the bell jingling above me. Jake looked up from under the hood of a car, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Hey, babe," he called, wiping his hands on a rag. "What's up? You okay?" His smile was so familiar, so warm, that for a moment I almost forgot why I was there. But then the note flashed in my mind, and my heart hardened. I took a step forward, my voice trembling but steady. "Jake," I said, my eyes locked on his, "we need to talk. Now." "Gina, what's going on?" Jake asked, stepping closer. His voice was soft, but there was an edge to it, like he was bracing himself. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I opened my mouth, but the words stuck in my throat. The note in Rose's purse burned in my mind. "Tell Jake it's his." I wanted to scream, to ask him if it was true, but my body felt heavy, like I was underwater. What if he admitted it? What if he lied? I didn't know which would hurt more. "Jake," I said finally, my voice shaking, "is there something you're not telling me?" About Rose? His face changed. Just for a second, but I saw a flash of something dark, like a shadow passing over his eyes. Then he frowned, tilting his head. Rose? What do you mean? Did something happen? Don't, I snapped, my hands clenching into fists. Don't act like you don't know. I saw something, Jake, in Rose's purse. A note, about her baby. My voice cracked and tears stung my eyes. It said it's yours. The shop went quiet, like the world held its breath. Jake's face froze, his mouth half open, like he didn't know what to say. For a moment, I thought he might confess, spill everything right there. But then he laughed at a short, sharp sound that didn't sound like him at all. Gina, what? That's crazy, Rose's baby? You think I... He shook his head, stepping closer, his hands out like he wanted to calm me down. Babe, you're upset. You're not thinking straight. Rose is your best friend. Why would you think something like that? His words sounded so reasonable, so normal, but they felt wrong, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I took a step back, my heart racing. Don't lie to me, Jake, I said, my voice louder now. I saw the note, in her handwriting. Tell Jake it's his. Why would she write that if it wasn't true? Jake's eyes widened, and he ran a hand through his hair, his baseball cap tilting back. Gina, I don't know what you saw, but I swear, I haven't done anything. Rose is pregnant, yeah. She told us about that guy from the bar. You were there when she said it. Maybe the note's about someone else. Another Jake, maybe? Another Jake. The idea was so ridiculous I almost laughed, but it came out as a sob. In Willow Creek? Another Jake? You really expect me to believe that? I was shaking now, tears spilling down my cheeks. You're my husband, she's my best friend, and you're both lying to me. Gina, stop! Jake's voice rose, and he grabbed my shoulders, not hard, but firm enough to make me freeze. Listen to me, I love you. I would never do that to you. Never. Whatever you saw, it's a mistake. Okay? Let's go home, figure this out. We'll talk to Rose together. His hands were warm, his eyes pleading, and for a moment, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to fall into his arms and pretend the note didn't. Grok, Zai, never existed. But the doubt was there, like a splinter in my heart. I pulled away, wiping my tears. I don't know if I can trust you, I whispered. Not until I hear the truth. Jake's face fell and he looked like I'd slapped him. Gina. Before he could say more, the shop door jingled, and one of his workers, Tommy, poked his head in. Hey Jake, you got a sec? Customer's asking about their truck. Jake glanced at me, then at Tommy, his jaw tight. Yeah, give me a minute, he said, his voice flat. Tommy nodded and disappeared, but the interruption left us standing there, the air thick with unspoken words. I'm going home, I said, turning toward the door. I need to think. Gina, wait, Jake called, but I didn't stop. I pushed through the door and ran to my car, my heart pounding. As I drove away, I could see Jake in the rearview mirror, standing in the shop doorway, watching me go. When I got home, the house was dark. Rose was gone, her purse no longer on the counter. I felt a pang of relief she wasn't here to face me, but also a sharp stab of fear. What if she was with Jake right now, talking to him, planning what to say? My phone buzzed again, another text from Rose. Gina, please call me. I'm really worried. Where are you? I ignored it and sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. My mind was a storm, spinning with questions. When did this start? How long had they been sneaking around? I tried to think back, to find the moments I'd missed. 3 months ago, around the time Rose started acting strange, Jake had been working late more often. He said it was a busy season at the shop, lots of cars coming in. I believed him because I always believed him. But now, I remembered little things, like how he'd come home smelling faintly of Lavender Rose's favorite perfume. I thought it was just from being around her when she visited, since she was at our house so much. Or how he'd get quiet sometimes, staring at his phone, then say it was just work stuff. And Rose, she'd been so careful. When she told me about the pregnancy, she'd cried so hard, her face buried in her hands. "I'm so scared, Gina," she'd said. "I don't know how to do this alone." I'd held her, told her she wasn't alone, that I'd be there. I even offered to go to her doctor's appointments with her, but she always said she was fine, that she didn't want to bother me. Was that because she was hiding the truth? I stood up, pacing the living room, my hands shaking. I needed answers, but I didn't know where to start. Part of me wanted to call Rose, to demand she explain the note, but what if she lied again? What if she twisted it, made me feel like I was the crazy one? And Jake, his reaction at the shop didn't make sense. He seemed so shocked, but was it real? Or was he just good at pretending? The doorbell rang, and I froze. My heart jumped into my throat. Was it Rose? Jake? I tiptoed to the door and peeked through the peephole. It was Mrs. Carter, our neighbor, holding a plate of cookies. I let out a shaky breath and opened the door. "Hi, Gina," Mrs. Carter said, her smile warm. "I made too many cookies again. Thought you and Jake might like some." "Thanks," I said, taking the plate, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's really sweet." She tilted her head, her eyes soft. "You okay, hon? You look a little shaken." I forced a smile. "Just a long day. I'm fine." Mrs. Carter nodded, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. "Well, you know where I am if you need to talk. Say hi to Jake for me." "I will," I said, closing the door as she walked away. I set the cookies on the counter, my stomach too knotted to even think about eating. Mrs. Carter's kindness made me feel even more alone. How could I talk to anyone about this? In Willow Creek, news spreads like wildfire. If I told anyone, the whole town would know by morning. I sank back onto the couch, my mind racing. I needed to know more. The note wasn't enough, it could mean anything, right? Maybe Jake was right. Maybe it was a mistake. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I had to find proof, something solid, before I confronted Rose or Jake again. I grabbed my phone and opened my messages, scrolling through old texts with Rose. Most were about everyday things, coffee plans, funny memes, her checking on me after the miscarriage. But then I saw one from a couple of months ago sent late at night. "Hey, can Jake fix my car tomorrow? It's acting up again." I hadn't thought anything of it at the time. Jake fixed everyone's cars in town, including Rose's, but now it felt different. Had she been at the shop with him, alone? I kept scrolling, my heart sinking with every message. Another one from a week later. "Thanks for letting me borrow Jake for the day. Car's running great." Borrow Jake? The words made my skin crawl now. I hadn't questioned it before, but why was she texting me about Jake so much? Was she covering her tracks, making it seem normal? Then I found a text from Jake, sent around the same time Rose started acting strange. "Gonna be late tonight, babe. Big job at the shop." I remembered that night. I'd been alone, crying on the couch, missing my baby. Rose had come over, prayed with me, held my hand. Had she known Jake was lying about where he was? Were they together? My phone buzzed again, snapping me out of my thoughts. Another text from Rose. "Gina, please. I'm at the coffee shop. Can we talk? I know something's wrong." I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to go, to face her, to see if she'd lie to my face. But another part was scared of what she'd say, scared of losing my best friend and my husband in one day. I typed a reply, then deleted it. I couldn't do this yet? Instead, I opened my laptop and logged into our bank account. If Jake and Rose were hiding something, maybe there was a clue there. My hands trembled as I scrolled through our transactions. Most were normal groceries, bills, gas. But then I saw something that made my breath catch. A charge for $50 at a diner in the next town over, dated 2 months ago. Jake had said he was working late that night. Why would he be at a diner 20 miles away? And why didn't he tell me? I kept digging, my heart racing. Another charge? This one for a motel. Same town, same week. $80. My vision blurred with tears. Jake never mentioned a motel. He never traveled for work. My hands shook as I clicked through more statements, finding small things, coffee shops, gas stations, places he never told me about. Each one felt like a stab to the chest. The front door creaked open, and I slammed the laptop shut, my heart leaping. "Gina?" Jake's voice called. He was home. I wiped my eyes, trying to steady my breathing. I didn't know if I was ready to face him again, but I had no choice. "In here?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake walked into the living room, his cap off now, his hair messy. He looked tired, worried, but there was something else in his eyes, something guarded. "Gina, we need to talk about this," he said, sitting on the chair across from me. "I don't know what's going on with that note, but I swear I haven't done anything with Rose. You have to believe me." I stared at him, my heart torn in two. I wanted to believe him, but the note, the bank charges, the texts, they were all piling up, screaming that he was lying. "Then explain the motel," I said, my voice cold. 2 months ago. The diner in Clarkson. Why were you there, Jake? You said you were working." His face went pale, and for a moment he didn't say anything. Then he leaned forward, his hands clasped. "Gina, it's not what you think. I was helping a friend. Someone from the shop needed a ride, and we stopped to eat. That's all." "A friend?" I said, my voice rising. "Who, Jake? Rose?" "No," he said quickly, too quickly. "It was Tommy. He had a family thing, needed to get to Clarkson. I didn't tell you because you were already so sad. I didn't want to worry you." I stared at him, searching his face for the truth. His story sounded possible, but it felt thin, like a shirt with holes. "Then why the motel?" I asked. "You didn't mention that either." Jake's mouth opened, then closed. He looked away, rubbing his neck. "It was late. We crashed there for a few hours before driving back. That's it." I didn't know what to believe. His words sounded rehearsed, like he'd practiced them. But his eyes, they looked so sincere, so desperate for me to trust him. My heart ached, torn between love and doubt. Before I could say more, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Rose. "I'm coming over. We need to talk. Now." My stomach dropped. Rose was on her way. Jake was here. The truth was closing in, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. But there was no running now. I looked at Jake, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at me. "She's coming," I said. "Rose is coming here, and we're all going to talk." Jake's eyes widened, and for the first time he looked truly scared. "Gina, wait." But I didn't let him finish. The storm was here, and it was about to break. "Gina, maybe we should wait," Jake said, his voice low, almost pleading. "Let's talk. Just you and me before Rose gets here. This is getting out of hand." "Out of hand?" I snapped, standing up, my hands shaking. "Jake, I found a note in Rose's purse saying her baby is yours. You're hiding trips to motels and diners. And now you want to wait? No, I'm done waiting. I want the truth." Jake opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the doorbell rang. My stomach twisted. She was here. I took a deep breath and walked to the door, my legs feeling like jelly. When I opened it, Rose stood there, her dark curls messy, her eyes wide with worry. She was still in her loose sweater, her hands clasped over her belly like she was protecting it. "Gina, thank God," she said, stepping inside. "You ran out so fast, I was so worried. What's going on?" Her voice was soft, but there was a shake in it, like she knew something was wrong. I stared at her, my best friend, my sister, the woman who'd held my hand through my darkest days, the woman who'd lied to me. "Rose," I said, my voice cold, "I saw the note. In your purse. The one that says, 'Tell Jake it's his.'" Her face froze. For a moment, she didn't move, didn't blink. Then she laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. "What? Gina, what are you talking about? A note? I don't." "Don't lie to me," I shouted, my voice breaking. Jake stood up behind me, and I felt his presence like a weight. I saw it, Rose. Your handwriting. You said the baby was from a one-night stand, but the note says it's Jake's. My husband's. Tell me the truth, right now. Rose's eyes flicked to Jake, then back to me. Her mouth opened, then closed, like she was searching for words. Gina, It's not what you think. The note, it's a mistake. A mistake? I stepped closer, my hands clenched. You wrote, "Tell Jake it's his." How is that a mistake? You lied to me. You said it was some guy from a bar and I believed you. I helped you. And all this time, you were with him? My voice cracked, tears spilling down my cheeks. Gina, no, Rose said, her hands reaching for me. I jerked back and her face crumpled. Please, listen, She glanced at Jake again, and I saw something pass between them, a look, quick but heavy, like a secret they both knew. I turned to Jake, my heart sinking. Say something, I demanded. Tell me she's lying. Tell me you didn't do this. Jake's jaw tightened, and he looked down at the floor. Gina, I told you, I didn't do anything. I don't know what's going on with her note, but I swear I'm not part of this. Then why won't you look at me? I yelled, stepping toward him. Why do you look so scared? And what about the motel, Jake? The diner? You lied about those too. Rose's eyes widened. Motel? What motel? She turned to Jake, her voice sharp. What's she talking about? Jake's face reddened, and he threw up his hands. It was nothing. I told you, Gina. It was Tommy. I was helping him out. Why is everyone acting like I'm some criminal? Stop it! I screamed, my voice echoing in the room. Both of you just stop. I'm not stupid. I know something's going on. Rose, you wrote that note. Jake, you're hiding things. I deserve to know what's happening. The room went quiet, the only sound my ragged breathing. Rose's eyes filled with tears, and she sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. Gina, she whispered, I'm so sorry. My heart stopped. Sorry for what? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Tell me. Rose took a shaky breath, her hands dropping to her lap. It was a mistake, a horrible mistake. It happened once, Gina, just once, I swear. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself. What happened once? I asked, though I already knew. I just needed to hear it. Rose's voice was so soft I could barely hear her. Jake and me, it was a bad night. You were in so much pain after the miscarriage, and Jake was hurting too. I came over to check on you, but you were asleep. We started talking, and I don't know how it happened. We were both so sad, and it just happened. The room spun. I looked at Jake, waiting for him to deny it, to say she was lying. But he just stood there, his face pale, his eyes fixed on the floor. Jake, I said, my voice breaking. Is it true? He didn't answer right away. The silence was louder than any words. Finally, he looked up, his eyes wet. Gina, I'm sorry. It was one time. I was lost. We both were. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You slept with my best friend, Jake, and now she's pregnant, with your baby. How does that not mean anything? Rose sobbed, her hands over her mouth. I didn't know I was pregnant until later, Gina. I thought it was someone else at first. That's why I said it was a one-night stand. I was scared to tell you the truth. I stared at her, my heart shattering. You lied to me. You sat with me every night, prayed with me, called me sister, and the whole time, you were carrying his baby. I didn't want to hurt you, Rose whispered, tears streaming down her face. I love you, Gina. I never meant for this to happen. Love me? I said, my voice shaking with anger. You betrayed me, both of you. I turned to Jake, my chest tight. How could you do this? After everything we went through? I lost our baby, Jake. And you did this? Jake stepped toward me, his hands out. Gina, please. It was a mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. We can fix this. Fix this? I backed away, shaking my head. How do you fix this? My best friend is pregnant with your baby. My whole world is a lie. The room felt too small, too hot. I couldn't breathe. I turned and ran to the kitchen, needing space, needing air. My hands gripped the counter, my vision blurry with tears. Behind me, I heard Rose's sobs in Jake's voice, low and urgent, talking to her. I couldn't make out the words, but it didn't matter. They were in this together, and I was alone. I grabbed my keys from the counter, my mind racing. I couldn't stay here, not with them. I needed to get out, to think, to figure out what to do next. As I headed for the door, Jake called after me. Gina, wait. Where are you going? Away, I said, not looking back. I can't be here right now. Rose stood up, her face wet with tears. Gina, please don't go. Let's talk. We can figure this out. There's nothing to figure out, I said, my voice cold. You both broke my heart. I need to be alone. I slammed the door behind me and ran to my car, my hands shaking as I started the engine. The sun was gone now, the sky dark and heavy with clouds. As I drove, tears streamed down my face, but I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was that I couldn't go back not yet. I ended up at the park on the edge of town, the one where Rose and I used to play as kids. It was empty now, the swings creaking in the wind. I sat on a bench, pulling my jacket tight around me. The cold bit at my skin, but I didn't care. My mind was a mess, replaying everything: Rose's confession, Jake's silence, the note that tore my world apart. How had it come to this? I thought back to the months after my miscarriage, when Rose was my rock. Every night, she'd sit with me, her hand in mine, praying for strength, for hope. I'd trusted her with everything, and Jake, he'd been my safe place, my home. Even when we were hurting, I thought we were in it together. But they'd been together instead, behind my back, creating a secret that grew into a baby. My phone kept buzzing, texts from Jake, from Rose, begging me to come back, to talk. I turned it off and shoved it in my pocket. I couldn't face them. Not now. But sitting there, in the dark, I started to think about what came next. Could I forgive them? Could I stay with Jake, knowing what he did? Could I ever look at Rose again without seeing her betrayal? A memory flashed in my mind, Rose and me, 10 years old, making a pact under this very tree. We'd pricked our fingers with a pin and pressed them together, swearing to be sisters forever. No matter what, we'd said, giggling, our hands sticky with blood. I'd believed it then. I'd believed it until today. But now I didn't know what to believe. Part of me wanted to run far away, to leave Willow Creek and never look back. But another part, a small, stubborn part, wanted to fight. For answers, for justice, for the life I thought I had. I didn't know how, but I couldn't let them take everything from me. I stood up, wiping my tears. I wasn't ready to go home, but I couldn't stay in the park forever. I needed a plan. Maybe I'd go to Mrs. Carter's, ask to stay the night, clear my head. Or maybe I'd dig deeper, find more proof, figure out how long this had been going on. The bank charges, the texts there had to be more clues. As I walked to my car, a new text came through. I'd turned my phone back on without thinking. It wasn't from Jake or Rose. It was from Sarah, a nurse who worked with Rose at the hospital. Hey, Gina. Heard you're going through something. If you need to talk, I'm here. I know some things about Rose, things you might want to hear. My heart skipped a beat. Sarah knew something? What else was Rose hiding? I stared at the message, my hands trembling. This wasn't over. There was more to this story, and I was going to find out what it was. I typed a quick reply. Can we meet? Now? Then I got in my car, my mind racing. The truth was out there, and I wasn't going to stop until I had it all. The streetlights cast long shadows as I drove to the diner on the edge of Willow Creek, where Sarah had agreed to meet me. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Sarah's text, I know some things about Rose. Things you might want to hear kept replaying in my mind. What else was there to know? Rose and Jake had already admitted their betrayal, but something told me the story wasn't over. I needed the whole truth, no matter how much it hurt. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived, the neon sign buzzing softly. Sarah was in a corner booth, her blonde hair pulled back, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. She looked up as I slid into the seat across from her, her eyes kind but serious. "Gina, I'm so sorry you're going through this," she said, her voice soft. "I didn't want to get involved, but when I heard you and Rose had a fight, I couldn't stay quiet." "What do you know?" I asked, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "Tell me everything." Sarah took a deep breath, glancing around like she was afraid someone might overhear. "Rose has been different at work. About 3 months ago, she started taking extra shifts, staying late. I thought she was just saving money, but then I saw her with Jake in the hospital parking lot late at night. They were talking, close, like they didn't want anyone to see." My heart sank, but I nodded for her to keep going. "What else?" "She was on the phone a lot, whispering, looking nervous. One time, I overheard her talking to someone sounded like Jake. She said something about keeping it quiet and not telling Gina. I didn't think much of it then, but when I heard she was pregnant and told you it was a one-night stand, it didn't add up. Rose is not the type to hook up with strangers. She's too careful." I swallowed hard, the pieces falling into place. "So you think she's been lying from the start?" Sarah nodded. "I think she and Jake were closer than she let on. I saw them together more than once, always late, always sneaky. And then, last week, I saw her writing something in the break room. She stuffed it in her purse when I walked in. I didn't see what it was, but it could have been that note you found." I leaned back, my mind racing. Rose and Jake hadn't just made one mistake. This wasn't a single bad night. They'd been sneaking around, planning, lying to me for months. The thought made my chest ache, like someone was squeezing my heart. "Thank you, Sarah," I said, my voice quiet. "I needed to know." She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're stronger than you think, Gina. Whatever you decide to do, you've got people who care about you, including me." I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. For the first time that night, I didn't feel completely alone. "Can I ask you one more thing?" I said. "Did Rose ever say anything about what she wanted? With the baby? With Jake?" Sarah hesitated, then sighed. "She mentioned once that she didn't know if she could raise a baby alone, said she wished things were different, that she could have a family. I thought she was just scared, but now I think she meant with Jake." The words hit like a punch. Rose didn't just betray Mesh, wanted my life, my husband, my future. I thanked Sarah again and left the diner, my mind made up. I couldn't run from this anymore. I had to face them one last time and decide what came next. When I got home, the house was dark except for a single lamp in the living room. Jake was on the couch, his head in his hands. Rose was gone. The sight of him, alone and broken, stirred something in me, old love, maybe, or just pity, but I pushed it down. I was done letting my heart make decisions. "Gina," Jake said, standing up as I walked in. His voice was hoarse, like he'd been crying. "I didn't think you'd come back." "I almost didn't," I said, crossing my arms. "But I need to say this to your face. I talked to Sarah. She saw you and Rose together, Jake. In the hospital parking lot, sneaking around. This wasn't just one night. You've been lying to me for months." Jake's face crumpled and he sank back onto the couch. "Gina, I didn't mean for it to happen like that. It started as nothing, just talking. We were both so sad about the baby, your baby. Rose was there and I messed up. It was only a few times, I swear." "A few times?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think that makes it better? You and my best friend behind my back while I was grieving our child? And now she's pregnant, Jake, with your baby." He looked up, his eyes red. I didn't know about the baby until she told me last week. I thought she was telling the truth about the one-night stand, same as you. When she told me it was mine, I freaked out. I told her to tell you the truth, but she said she couldn't. She didn't want to lose you. Lose me? I said, my voice rising. She already lost me. And so did you. You broke our marriage, Jake. You broke us. He stood, reaching for me. Gina, please, I love you. I know I messed up, but we can work through this. We've been through worse. The miscarriage. Don't, I cut him off, stepping back. Don't you dare bring that up. You don't get to use our baby as an excuse for what you did. He froze, his hands falling to his sides. What do you want me to do? He whispered. Tell me how to fix this. You can't, I said, my voice steady now. I'm done, Jake. I'm done with you, with Rose, with this town. I can't stay here pretending everything's okay. I deserve better. His face twisted with pain, but he didn't argue. Maybe he knew I was right. I turned and walked to the bedroom, grabbing a suitcase from the closet. I started packing clothes, shoes, the little things that were mine. Each item felt like a piece of my old life, slipping away. Where will you go? Jake asked, standing in the doorway, his voice small. I don't know yet, I said, zipping the suitcase. Maybe to my mom's for a while, maybe somewhere new, but I can't stay here, not after this. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry, Gina, for everything. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I grabbed my suitcase and walked out, leaving him standing there, alone in the house we'd built together. The next morning, I met Rose at the coffee shop. I'd texted her to come, knowing I needed to see her one last time. She looked tired, her eyes puffy, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. She stood when she saw me, but I motioned for her to sit. Gina, she said, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, I said, sitting across from her. You lied to me, Rose. You let me think you were my sister, but you were sneaking around with my husband. You let me believe your baby was from some stranger. Why? She looked down, tears dripping onto the table. I was scared. After that night with Jake, I felt so guilty. I wanted to tell you, but you were already so broken. I couldn't do it. When I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. I made up the one-night stand because I thought it would keep us together. I thought I could fix it. Fix it? I said, my voice cold. You were going to raise his baby and never tell me? You were going to let me live a lie? I didn't know what to do, she cried, her hands shaking. I love you, Gina. You're my best friend. I thought if I kept it secret, we could still be sisters. I shook my head, my heart heavy but clear. We're not sisters anymore, Rose. Sisters don't do this. I can't forgive you, not now, maybe not ever. She sobbed, covering her face, but I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. I stood up, leaving a few dollars for the coffee I hadn't touched. I'm leaving Willow Creek, I said. Don't call me, don't text, I need to start over. Gina, please, she whispered, but I was already walking away. A week later, I was at my mom's house, 2 hours from Willow Creek. The guest room was small but cozy, with a window that looked out on her garden. I spent my days unpacking, thinking, and slowly piecing myself back together. Mom didn't ask too many questions, just hugged me and made me tea, letting me heal in my own time. I started seeing a therapist, someone kind who listened as I poured out my pain. She helped me see that the betrayal wasn't my fault, that I was enough, even if Jake and Rose made me feel like I wasn't. I started writing too, in a little journal, putting down my thoughts, my anger, my hopes. It felt like a way to let go. One afternoon, as I sat in the garden, my phone buzzed with an email. It was from a community college in a nearby city, offering me a spot in their teaching program. I'd applied months ago, before everything fell apart, dreaming of becoming a teacher. I'd forgotten about it, but now it felt like a sign, a new path, a new life. I thought about Jake and Rose sometimes, wondering how they were handling the mess they'd made. I heard from Sarah that Rose was still in Willow Creek, preparing to raise the baby alone. Jake was still at the shop, but the town whispered about him now, their golden boy tarnished. I didn't feel joy at their pain, just a quiet relief that I was free. As I sat in the garden, the sun warm on my face, I realized something. I was going to be okay. The pain was still there, a scar that might never fade, but it didn't own me anymore. I had a future, one I could build myself, without lies or betrayal. I picked up my journal and wrote one last thing. I am enough. Then I closed it, stood up, and walked inside to call the college. It was time to start again. I found strength to move forward, leaving behind the pain of Jake and Rose's betrayal. I chose myself, embracing a new beginning with hope and resilience, ready to build a life that's truly mine. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for more emotional and lesson-filled stories on betrayals. See you on the next one. Bye for now.